Welcome to another episode of the 5enses Webcast. Today is my great honor to have former NASA astronaut, U.S. Navy captain, and Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate for Arizona, Captain Mark Kelly. Welcome to the Webcast. How are you doing today, Mark?
Pretty good, Robert. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. So you are the first person that I've virtually and just know who went to space. So I wanted to start the interview off with that. And so first off, what motivated you to pursue a life as an astronaut?
I was in kindergarten when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin took those first couple steps onto the moon, and I was fascinated by that. I should back up. My brother remembers it vividly. My mom said I fell asleep. Then I learned about it the next day, and I thought it was a big deal. But I remember the later Apollo flights, all the way up through Apollo 17. And it's something I followed rather closely when I was a kid, including the first flight of the space shuttle, which I thought was fascinating. And I remember going down to the Kennedy Space Center when I was in like sixth grade. But then when I was in the ninth grade, we did a tour. I remember sitting on a bus at the end of the runway, this 15,000 foot long runway, 300 feet wide, being told how in like a year or two, it's going to be these space shuttles landing here. Never thought that one day I would land on that runway. I landed on that runway in a space shuttle 4 different times. But it really got me very interested in space, and I wanted to be the first person to, walk on the planet Mars. That didn't happen, but I got kind of close. But I was just always really excited about it. It's also public service. I was a lifelong public servant. I served in the Navy for 25 years and was really lucky to be able to become an astronaut and get to do this great, this exciting job that's also very important.
Right, and a unique experience, Mark. So for us Earth beings here, what was your experience like in space? Because I can only imagine going from one atmosphere or gravity centric location to another one could impact your mental, emotional, and physical health. So how was your experience in space?
Well, it starts with a very physical ride to orbit, 0 to 17,500 miles an hour in just a matter of minutes. And then you're in space and you get to see this incredible round, let me say that again, round planet just floating there, and you really get this strong sense how we're all in this together. But you talk about mental and physical implications of this. It's hard on you physically, especially for folks that stay in space for a long time, like my brother spent a year on orbit. That's hard. There's a lot of radiation. It's generally not good for you. My space flights were always like 2 weeks, around 2 weeks long. So physically it's tough, but not anything like what my brother went through. And then on the mental aspect of this, kind of reminds me a little bit about, what people are experiencing right now with COVID-19. And you're cooped up in your house, you're trying to stay away from people, you're physically distant from people. I mean, it's not 250 miles in orbit, but it has the same effect, and it's a challenge. So you have to figure out, ways to, maintain your connection with people, and like we're doing now, not in person. So it's not ideal, but it works. But you got to be focused on your mental health and your physical health, regardless of whether or not you're in space or not.
Right, and so that probably trained you what you're about to pursue with your career choices right now. And so my last space question for you, Mark, is, listen, we were talking about Carl Sagan back here before we recorded, and I personally want to go to space at some point. Don't know if that's going to happen, but what has been some of the coolest, unique observations you've made in space?
This just all 7.5 billion of us living on an island in our solar system and not having any other place to go. There's no planet B. We are not all moving to Mars someday. We need to do a better job taking care of this planet. Climate change is real. If we don't address it, the future for our children and our grandchildren, it's at risk. So we got to pay attention to the science, science, data, and facts, very important to me. Got to pay attention to the science. And there are some, common sense things that we can do. We just got to have, folks willing to work on this in an independent way and just make smart decisions.
Right. And I really like what you said about science and common sense. It's very hard as an American to see two narratives going on about physical and mental health, if you will, with the coronavirus going around. And it seems like we're abandoning ship for science when science has got us here throughout human civilization. So thank you for saying
Right,
that.
Robert, right? Science has gotten us like everything.
Right. Even like cell phones or the space rocket, they brought you up to space, or even this monitor that I'm talking through right now. So I'm right with you right that. So my next question is a little bit about something that maybe people don't know too much about you, Mark, but during your time in NASA, is there like an unknown project or a time where you led that really helped you become a leader, or you just thought you did a really great job for NASA or the country, and that people may not know too much about that?
Well, for a while between space flights, I worked on advanced projects. Like what was the follow-on to the space shuttle going to look like? I did that for a number of years. I also was a safety guy, flight safety guy. We were experiencing some issues with hypoxia, which is the lack of oxygen, lack of oxygen in your blood. And it was not only an issue for us, it was becoming a serious issue in the U.S. military. They were losing airplanes, crashing F-18s. I think they nearly lost an F-22 over this in the Air Force, so it became an issue. And then I invented a high-tech oxygen mask that measured the partial pressure of oxygen with a circuit board and a sensor, patented it. So, so I invented the thing, had it patented, designed it, invented it, patented it. And for a while it was licensed. It's been tested by the Navy, kind of on and off. It's not used operationally yet. I think it might be someday. So that's something I don't think people know about me.
Nice. That's pretty unique. Awesome. So we can talk about space all we want, but really we're in the middle of a campaign right now, and there's a lot of different topics out there. But as a concerned citizen, I'm looking at different types of leadership. And so if you could describe your leadership style, or just leadership in general, in one word, what would it be, and why did you pick that word?
In one word, I'd probably say collaboration. The ability to bring people together. I think it's very important for the person in charge to realize that they don't have all the answers, that they don't know everything. I really worry about leaders who think they do. So that ability to collaborate and build a team and solve problems using teamwork, and understanding that there are a lot of folks out there that probably have better answers than you do. I think that's a really important component of leadership.
Okay, collaboration, excellent. So you have some Navy experience, obviously. You have NASA experience. So when you become the senator, what skills and or experiences from your previous careers and life will help you become a great leader that you are hoping to be for the U.S. Senate of Arizona? Or for
I think as the commander of the space shuttle, that teamwork aspect of it is important. I think it's also really important to have a decent ability at like synthesizing a bunch of information and then make good decisions and good choices from that information, and be able to figure out if it's relevant information to begin with. So the data part of this, like, are you able to gather the data and understand it and then make good decisions from it? I also think attention to detail is important. Making sure you're focused on the details. The details do matter. And I think that's an important skill for U.S. senators.
Okay. So when you're talking about like data, are you getting like multiple perspectives? Are you getting it from like the intelligence community? Like, could you explain a little bit about like how using that data helps you inform decisions for, let's say, public safety, public health, or even the economy?
Yeah, I mean, it could be something, one big issue here in Arizona and across the country right now is healthcare. That is, and it's been highlighted, inequities in our healthcare system have been highlighted by the pandemic, and healthcare is too expensive for a lot of folks. But trying to come up with solutions, and there are some obvious things that I advocate for in our healthcare system, which is more competition and public option and allowing folks to buy into Medicare at a certain age. But trying to understand the complexity of healthcare is often about, it's about risk, it's about cost. There's a lot of numbers involved. There's, previous administrations' actions on this and what this legislation did, and budgets, and what are our priorities, and why is it that, prescription drugs are so expensive, especially for seniors. So there's just a lot. These are complex issues. And there's a lot that goes into it. And I think it's the ability to be able to understand these things, and then, make an informed decision, is something that we hope that, folks that we elect to office have.
Right. And so you talked about healthcare as one of our main issues here in America. And you said there's going to be multiple solutions and whatnot. What is another issue that is very close to you that is helping you motivate to run for Senate?
Well, so I decided to run before COVID-19, right?
Right.
Year and a half ago. I think it's, just been what the trajectory of our country is. On one hand, I think we're on an unsustainable trajectory. And I know a little bit about trajectories, and this one, not good. I had an experience the night before the election in 2018 where this young mom came up to me in Phoenix. It was literally the night before the election. She came up to me and she said, "Hey, my son has Down syndrome, and I'm terrified that he's going to lose his health insurance. Would you please consider running for the U.S. Senate?" So she recognizes that her kid has this pre-existing condition, which is Down syndrome, and could prevent him from having health care as an adult. And I mean, that's not what our country should be like. I mean, we need to come up with solutions where everybody could have quality health care that they can afford. And that got me seriously thinking about doing this.
Nice. So you're already listening to who the people you're going to represent, and then making an informed decision. That's great. And talk about pre-existing conditions. I had childhood cancer, and so it's always a struggle. Not today, but like making sure you have preventative health, because then initially and essentially I could be in debt if I get another condition later in life, So excellent for healthcare.
I've met so many families that have had the same issue, mm-hmm. where somebody as a child has, high healthcare costs and they have some issues, and they might even resolve those, right, through good healthcare. But then when they become adults, they've got to go out and get their own healthcare coverage. And if you have that existing condition, insurers don't want to cover you. Well, now they have to. And that's the way insurance is supposed to work. You're supposed to spread the risk. But there are members of Congress that would like to take that back in the other direction, where there have been individuals that have voted to undermine or eliminate those coverage protections for pre-existing conditions. And in our state, we have 2.8 million individuals that have a pre-existing healthcare condition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a tough call, because then we can get into the debate, is healthcare privilege or a right? We don't need to get there in this conversation, but I think you said it, now's the time to act, especially with a whole global pandemic. take some time to think about that. So Mark, we're running out of time, and I wanted to honor your time. I like to throw this last question out to all my guests. I'm a true believer in the universe, all right, and that the universe can actually conspire with you to help get your vision or your dreams coming true. So it's a couple months from now. You won the election. You are the senator, one of the senators for Arizona. A, how does it feel? And B, what is your intention moving forward?
I have no idea how it's going to feel.
Okay.
But my intention moving forward is to work really, really hard to do a good job for our state and to try to solve some of these hard problems and try to solve them in a independent way, working across the aisle, try to find common ground with, other U.S. senators, often Republicans, kind of the way, John McCain did the job. I didn't agree with, Senator McCain and everything, but there were like really important times where he reached across the aisle to make really good decisions that benefited all of us here in the state of Arizona.
Excellent. That is awesome. Like I there's nothing other words that I can say about what your intentions are and how a senator should act. And I'm glad that you had some inspiration throughout your life, whether it's NASA, the Navy, taking hold of the Maverick, John McCain as well. And thank you for your time, Mark, and thank you for answering some of these fun questions. I want to leave this with a time for you to promote your where people can find your information. So we got like under a minute left. So please give us a plug for where we can find more information about Mark Kelly running for U.S. Senate in Arizona.
Well, it's very easy. It's www.markkelly.com. So that's incredibly easy. And that's our campaign website. And people that are interested in learning more, that's where they should go. I'm interested in reading the book behind you again, the Cosmos by Carl Sagan, because I don't know if we caught this at the beginning, because I don't know if you started recording, but one of my favorite books as a kid. I've read it 5 times. I have it in the house here somewhere. I'm going to go dust it off and take another look at it, because it's a great book about the universe.
Yeah, it's a great book. My cover's ripping. That's how much I've got that. And then shameless plug, Neil deGrasse Tyson does a really good condensed version of astrophysics for people in a hurry.
He does.
Well, thank you, Mark, for your time. And this is Robert Zinni from the 5enses Webcast. For more information, log on to 5enses, mag.com, and like us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.